Hello everyone. Well, here's a piece you can play very early in your studies. It is the A Major Prelude by Chopin. It goes something like this. So when I first learned this piece, I was surprised to find out that it wasn't an arrangement. These are the actual notes that Chopin wrote. So it's a very short piece, under 30 seconds. It's called a miniature, right? So miniatures are very good for you to learn because they're a very small piece, but also very complex at the same time. But you can break them down and learn them measure by measure. Okay, so let's do that. So first we're going to start off with just write one hand at a time, and how we're going to practice this is just one chord at a time. So we're going to break it down, so write each chord progression. So you're going to learn each chord progression and then you're going to link them together. So here's the first part with the right hand. So you have an E, a C sharp, and a D. Right? So you're going to find those three notes. You're going to find a chord. Okay, so this chord is a G sharp diminished in the right hand. It's actually an E7 when I play the bass note. Okay, so it's basically this chord, but what we're doing is we're rearranging the notes. So it's a D, it's a G sharp, and a B. So again, the first part for the right hand, you find an E, a C sharp, and a D. And then you play this 3 times. Okay, so left hand is an E and an E octave. So this E right here is the E above middle C. And I'm going to assume you have a kind of a working knowledge of both notes, or perhaps you've already read the piece, and you can read it on the music, and you can use this as a memorization guide. All right, so there. So together, we start with the right hand in the clear, one note. Right? So this piece is sort of like a little miniature minuet, like, so if you've heard other minuets, you know, like something like that, right? So the first measure is always to get to the second measure, right? And on top of that, Chopin adds what's called a pickup note. So this E is on beat 3, so it's 1, 2, 3, 1. So you can feel that the 3 feels up and the 1 feels down, and then 2, 3, 1, right? So 1, 2, 3. So it's very important that you get all of that in the first measure, because the whole rest of the piece follows that same rhythm, right? So the other bit of information we have is andantino, which is faster than andante. Right, so andante is going, right? So andantino is a little more motion, yes? And then piano, soft, and dolce, sweetly. It means sweetly literally, but what does it mean in the context of music? Well, if a soprano in the opera were to sing dolce, and she had something like this, that would be dolce. She would not get louder as she sang. So the natural tendency of the voice would do this. It would get very expressive, right? So it goes against, it's actually the opposite of espressivo. So you can think of all kinds of adjectives to describe it: gracefully, right? Lightly. Does that make make sense? Okay, also, we have a dotted rhythm. And if you were to do that dotted rhythm literally, do exactly the rhythm on the page, you could fill in 16th notes, right? So you can find the smallest pulse, which is this little note, this note right here, right? Well, this note will fit into every single other note. So the quarter note would have 4 of them. So if I played it as repeated, so you hear that. So when I'm playing and I'm playing the rhythm exactly right, it would be la 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 la. Well, there's something stilted about that, right? I'm playing the rhythm exactly as written. We'll listen to it again. So what really happens when somebody plays? Well, what happens is people overdot. Musicians naturally overdot things. And what do I mean by that? It means you play the 16th later. You've already done this. If you've sung Happy Birthday, you're in a crowd, you get a whole crowd, and it's written exactly like this dotted rhythm. And you sing Happy Birthday. You see, you don't sing Happy Birthday. You don't sing that so long. You sing it actually later. Another good example would be the national anthem, la 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 la, right? It overdots. That's what it's called. It's playing the 16th later. Or the Battle Hymn of the Republic, mine eyes have seen the glory of. So when you're playing this rhythm throughout, you don't want to be so serious about it. And that'll also give you a nice touch or a nice feeling for the piece. So let's go on. So here's our second chord progression. So this first chord progression is an E7 chord. Right? So it's an E, G sharp, B, D natural, right? We're in the key of A major based on this scale. And A is our tonic chord. Our home chord, E7, is our dominant chord. So we start off with a dominant chord, E7. So our next chord is going to be an A chord. So let's do the left hand first. And you see it's the answer to the E. You have E, A, right? So the E sounds like a question, the A sounds like the answer. So what we play is an A here, and then we play an A and an E. And the right hand does this. Right? The other thing is very legato. So if you have the thought of legato, you don't want the sounds to ever diminish. It's like a soprano and an alto singing together, right? Here's the alto. Now, can you hear the alto when the soprano sings too? Right? So F sharp and D, and then B sharp and D sharp, and then C sharp and A, and then C sharp and A. Right? Did you notice that there's this B sharp and this D sharp, and it sounds clashy a bit, right? Or it sounds spicy. I don't know. You can come up with your own adjectives. Why is that? Well, these notes don't fit in the key, and in fact, if I play an A scale, you can hear them clashing because they don't fit. But this fits in, and you can hear that, right? So if I can also resolve it. So this note, you want to lean into it just a little bit. Just enough to make it spicy, right? Not too much spice. Right? If you see the little people dancing the minuet with their powdered wigs, that's where one maybe bows to the other. Right? So now each one of these you want to practice by themselves. First one. And you can do that a bunch of times. When you have that, then you can practice this one a bunch of times. And then when you feel ready, you can put 2 together. Here are 2 together. E7. Okay, so let's go on now. Next part, right hand. Something happens, the thumb has to tie a note, right? So you start off with a C sharp and an E. This is going to go back to an E chord, the dominant chord. And then we have our dissonant note, the A sharp, you see that? The reason why we have accidentals is to show you the dissonant note that doesn't fit in the scale. And in fact, a good thing to do is when you see an accidental, usually that note's going to be a little bit more spicy, right? I keep saying spicy, right? But it's the note that doesn't fit in the scale. It's the note you lean into. So you have E and C sharp, A sharp and C sharp, and then D and B, and then you hold the D, and then you play F sharp and D. You see how I do this? It's like a mule kicking its legs, right? Right, so let's do that whole right hand. And then we're going to add our E chord in the left hand. So you need an E bass, and then an E and a B. We're leaving the third out. So if you see the whole chord, there it is. Right? So now this together. Don't forget to tie your D note. Right? Here that's a question again. It's dominant seventh chord, E. Right? E is our fifth step of the scale. Okay? And now next chord is, or our next melody, right? Now I'm thinking maybe I played this wrong when I first played this, because there's a C sharp tie down here that I probably missed. So you want to be careful about that, right? You can all laugh at me later. So 3, 2, 1, and then C sharp, and then just the top C sharp plays, and then both C sharps play. Right? You can practice that a bunch of times. D and G sharp, repeat. A and C sharp, play just the top C sharp, both C sharps. And the left hand is an A chord. And again, he likes these chords, these voicings in the left hand where you just play the root and the fifth. You're not playing the third. If I play the third, it would be there. It sounds like horns, right? So if you have horns, gives you very nice voicing, right? So this one, this A major chord. Remember, A major is our key. Oh, did I play the C sharp right or wrong? Were you watching? Were you watching? I played it wrong, didn't I? Right? So top C sharp, both C sharps. Okay, so make sure you get that right. All right, so let's do 3 and 4, the third chord and the fourth chord. Okay, if you're following me, we're doing it one chord at a time. Right? So here's the third chord, and we're going to put these two together now. Fourth, A major, playing our ties correctly. Okay, now you're halfway through the piece. So now we go back to the beginning of the piece, except for there's one little thing different. So what's different? Well, two notes are different this time, right? So the first time we played this all by itself. The second time we tie the E and we play a G sharp. Did you see that? First time, very beginning of the piece, just two notes. This time, here's our E7 chord again. Okay, and the left hand is just like playing the beginning of the piece. It's an E and an E octave. And now things are going to take a very interesting harmonic turn. Beautiful. What just happened there? Why does that sound so nice? And so unexpected at the same time? Well, first of all, we have our A chord. So if we look just at the left hand, it's an A chord. But this chord is an F sharp 7 chord. and we'll explain why. I'll also have a solution. You're looking at that right now and thinking, wow, look at all those notes. If your hand is smaller, we have some solutions for you. So let's break it down. So let's just do the first measure first. So it's right hand, D and F sharp, and then B sharp and D sharp. There are dissonant notes. And C sharp, a resolution. And then we're going to hold these and just play the top notes. Okay, and then we're going to move here. So our thumb is going to take A sharp and C sharp together, like that. And you have to move up into the keys. And then index finger plays E, third finger plays A sharp, and your fifth finger will play C sharp. Okay, so now one solution if your hand is not big enough is just to leave out the bottom note and play this. Right, see, it sounds almost as good, a little bit nicer, right, if you can get all the notes, right? The other solution is to roll it, and I'll show you that when I have both hands together. Okay, so you can roll the chord, you can roll it fast, okay? If you don't like the roll, you play it solid, you just leave a note out. Okay, left hand, it's just an A major chord first, right? And it's our same voicing, A and E, and then F sharp 7. So F sharp, C sharp, E natural, which is our 7th, and F sharp, which is our root. Right now, for smaller hands again, you could leave this out, and you could play the whole chord like this, or like this. And you see the one with all the notes, of course, is fuller, right? So if you can reach it, you're gonna try to find it, right? So now the other solution is you could roll it, right? So you could roll it like this. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the first 4 notes, if you can reach this, right? So I took 4 notes, F sharp, C sharp, E, F sharp, A sharp, C sharp, E, A sharp, and then I come over with the left hand and play that. Now, another solution is for even smaller hands is to play like this, and then take the last 2 notes in the right hand. So you're going to take F sharp, C sharp, E, F sharp, A sharp, C sharp, E, and then these 2 notes, right? So it looks like this when you do it. Okay, so there are all your solutions to that. F sharp 7 chord. Now, what does that mean harmonically in this key? Well, it's 5 of what? 5 of 2. And why is it 5 of 2? Well, what's 2 in A major? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 is B, and B minor is 2. Right? So B minor can be a key too. And you can also shift, you can also modulate. Right? So to get to B minor, you need F sharp 7. So say you're going along in A major, E7, E7A, E7A, and now you want to go to B minor, and then you just play F sharp 7, B minor, and now we're in B minor, and we use our dominants to get anywhere we want, right? But this one's so unexpected because he started this a different way, and when he did it the first time, he didn't do it this way. He did this. But this time he goes, and both the surprise and the modulation make us go, ah, that's beautiful, right? Isn't that nice? So there's our F sharp 7 chord. All right, so now let's get out of this. Of course, we promised you a B minor chord, and the very next measure is going to be a B minor chord. Right, and we end up on an E9 chord that is our dominant chord that's going to get us back to A major, right? So let's go through the right hand. Remember to carry the A sharp over, A sharp and C sharp, and then D and B, and then F sharp and B. So F sharp and B, A and F sharp, so the F sharp is going to stay the same, and then G sharp and F sharp, so the top note stays the same. So the altos have the good part. So if you listen to altos, and I play the sopranos above the altos, so now how do we bring out those altos? Well, we want the weight of our arm to be on our thumb. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my elbow out just a little bit so that I can get there. Now if I use other fingering, I can use thumb and thumb, thumb and make you hear legato, or I can use 2, 1, 2, which is probably the preferable fingering, right? If you want to be fancy. In both cases, you want the weight to be on the lower part. So we hear those altos. Okay, so when you have that right hand down, you can do your left hand. B minor chord, B in the bass. Just about every single chord in this piece, the name of the chord is that low note that you play. So that's another good way to memorize it, right? So B, F sharp and D. And here's your whole B minor chord in second inversion, right? So here's your B minor chord. We get the F sharp and we put it here, right? So, and here's your E7 chord. You're just missing the G sharp. So root, 3rd, 5th, 7th. You're just playing the root, the 5th, and the 7th. And the right hand plays the 9th, right? Which is very fancy, right? Because this is very early and we have 9th chords. Right? Root, 3rd, 5th, 9th, root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th. We can add 13ths. Right? Does that make sense? So we can keep adding to dominant 7th chords. We just pile the thirds on and we get what are called extensions. Well, Chopin's doing that, giving you that, which is also very spicy. Yes? Okay, so now let's put our hands together. Did you see that? B minor, B minor 7, E9. Or using the fancy fingering, 2, 1, oops, 2, 1. Right? Apparently I don't have the coordination to talk and play at the same time. Okay, and now we have our final measure. We're going to go back to A major, because that's our key. And you'll think it's done if we play an A major chord. Okay, so let's look at the last 3 chords. A major. Did you see that grace note? Right? So the grace note is going to occur as if if you think about where the top part of the chord is 1, 2, 3, 1, right? So with the grace note just has no value. You have to just fit it in between 1 and 2. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1. And you see how the top part of the chord was right on time for beat 2. And the grace note just got fit in there. And you want to be very elegant about it, right? Then you want to play your right hand and your left hand together. So now we could talk about something else too, because I see pianists play a lot and they play very muddy, like as if you, or you probably heard this too, like you hear people play and you think, oh, they kind of like, sounds like they have gloves on, right? Why is that? Well, they're not voicing their chords properly, right? So when you play a chord, you're not emphasizing the middles, this part, like you hear people play like that. You see, that's a very muddy chord. But what are the most important notes? The soprano and the bass, right? The bass and the soprano. So that's the part of the chord you want to be maybe a hair louder than the rest. You hear that? And you can practice. I mean, this is a very good piece for hearing, right? Very good piece for listening to yourself. It's so short. So I want to hear that bass and soprano, and I'm minimizing the inside. Well, what do I do to do that? Are my fingers loose or are my fingers stiff? Well, my fingers are stiff, right? You know, people are always saying, relax, relax, relax. But your fingers are stiff. It's your wrist that's loose, right? Your wrist is loose. And You want to have a perfectly voiced chord, no matter how softly you play. See? You hear the soprano and the bass? Okay, so now what you're going to do next is link measures, right? So you're going to do the first chord and the second chord, right? Then the third chord and the fourth chord together. Then you can play all four, right? The ability to just delay gratification of playing the whole piece through, playing one little bit at a time. Alrighty, so now we go through the whole piece. So when at first you're going to think about the chords, and then you're not going to think about anything. You're just going to play it, right? Your fingers will just play it, right? But at the beginning, I would think of the chords when I'm playing. So E7, and I'm playing a little slowly under tempo. A major. This is our one chord. And then our dominant chord, we're just going to trade off dominant tonic, dominant chord, ooh, with a ninth, right? Hear that ninth? And then A major is our one. Did I tie that correctly? And then E7. And then A major. 5 of 2, and then 2, and then E9, which is our dominant 7th, or our 5 chord, and then 1. And then last 3 chords are the hardest ones to play because you have to voice them properly. Okay? And then when you play it for real, up to tempo, you want to think again, minuet, right? Here's your tempo. Not too fast, not too slow. So have fun practicing, have a great day, and thank you for watching.